the WEF Davos elite arrivals, we can be sure that the natural elites, quote unquote, that Hans Hoppe wrote about are not among the Davos company. This particular elite group has an agenda, and it's not freedom and free markets. It is tempting, as Naum Wolf has recently done, to attribute the collapse of Western civilization to the debasement of Judeo-Christian morality and the re-emergence of malignant supernatural forces. Observing the many attacks on the infrastructure and social system of the United States lately, I would not rule out, says the author, metaphysical causes either, but to blame the pagan gods, or in specific Christian terms, to blame Satan rather than his followers, is to take comfort that the dark outlook of the world situation is temporary. To place blame squarely on nebulous, unknown forces is to let the global elite get away with it cheaply. As I wrote in The Great Reset and the Struggle for Liberty, the Western world is in the hands and under the control of subversive elites with excessive power and influence. These people are not naturally superior, but have as their object, their goal, the undermining of the Western civilization. We can find them in globalist roundtable organizations, such as the Royal Institute of International Affairs, Chatham House, the Council of Foreign Relations, the Bilderberg Group, the Club of Rome, and the World Economic Forum, WEF, in their main international governmental counterparts, the United Nations, the UN, and the monetary organizations that finance the globalist regime, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank. All these organizations aim to undermine nation-states, destroy the free market, and control the global economic system by a globalist elite. These goals are now being conducted under the term social stakeholder capitalism, quote unquote, with the WEF conducting interventions and coordinating the public-private partnerships that usher in stakeholder capitalism, supposedly to combat climate change. In the economic realm, social shareholder capitalism is a cartel scheme that benefits the compliant and destroys the non-compliant, and the economics of social shareholder capitalism spill over into a model of governance and geopolitics, states and favored corporations in public-private partnerships to control governance. This configuration results in a corporate-state hybrid that is largely unaccountable to members of national governments, as Kurt Nemo writes, quote, according to the Transnational Institute in the Netherlands, this initiative proposes a transition from intergovernmental decision-making to a multi-stakeholder governance system. In other words, they are secretly marginalizing a recognized model where we vote for governments who then negotiate treaties, which are then ratified by our elected representatives, for a model where a self-selected group of social partners make decisions on our behalf. So in other words, we have no input. End quote. The crony relationship between multinational corporations and governments has drawn the scorn of even some left-wing academics. Some note that the UN-WEF partnership and the WEF governance model represent at least the privatization of the UN's 2030 agenda, with the WEF bringing in business partners, money, and supposed expertise for the fourth industrial revolution table. And the WEF governance models extends far beyond that of the UN, influencing constitutions and the behaviors of governments worldwide. This usurpation has led political scientist Ivan Weck to call the WEF's governmental redesign of the world system a corporate takeover of governance, global governance. This is true, but the WEF model also represents the nationalization of private industry. Under Schwab's social shareholder capitalism and multi-stakeholder governance model, governance is not only increasingly privatized, but more importantly, corporations are replacing governments and intergovernmental bodies as important additions. The state expands, strengthens, and swells with the addition of vast corporate assets. These include funding aimed at sustainable development by excluding nonconformists, as well as the use of big data, artificial intelligence, and 5G to monitor and control citizens. However, the conditions for global governance must first be created, and these conditions include the collapse of the mortal sovereignty, the abolition of natural rights, and the decline of the standard of living for the vast majority of people. Affluence is the greatest threat to our world. True sustainability will only be achieved through drastic lifestyle changes, writes Sean Fleming of the WEF. Thus, these elites are not only subversive but also destructive. It's difficult to conclude that the many recent attacks on U.S. infrastructure are anything other than part of a concerted campaign to destroy productive capacity and also create fear in the population. Consider the use of mandatory vaccination to choke supply chains, multiple train derailments, chemical bombs, unexploded railway bombs, mysterious explosions in smelters and oil facilities, accidental fires in food processing facilities and egg farms, the explosions of hazardous materials in public transport, the shutdown of a large baby milk production laboratory, etc. Think of them in relation to operations of cultural, social, and political discouragement, lockdowns, and other things, Antifa incited sanctions, mock trials, and uncontrolled immigration, forced transgender, critical race theory, all these things. Now, do not all these phenomena have a common effect, namely the creation of social economic insecurity and a feeling of helplessness while forcing all political opposition into submission. However, it's virtually impossible to prove that a coordinated campaign by subversive elites is underway, as internal Twitter documents released to the public in December reveal. One of the most powerful communication and ideology engines on earth had gone to great lengths to erase and filter the visibility of any narrative that might prove providing a window into the coordination of a new world order. If, however, as Pareto claimed, a ruling elite is inevitable, then, as Jeff Deist has argued, we are surely under the rule of the wrong elites. Whether a replacement of the elites can be completed in time to save the global economic system from destruction and the majority of the people from impoverishment and actual slavery is a matter of more than urgency. This is from Terra Papers, and I've translated this for you from a Greek article. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box